Hello and welcome back to the budget listening session for fiscal year 2026. This time it's virtual. Before we get started, I have the pleasure of introducing the acting county executive, Tara H. Jackson, who will open us up with their remarks. Acting County Executive for Prince George's County, Tara Jackson.
Good evening, Prince Georgians. I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight for the FY2026 virtual budget listening session. This listening session is an important step in our budget process. And we're here tonight because we want to make sure our budget reflects the values and priorities of Prince Georgians. I appreciate each of you taking the time for this important discussion. I want to thank our Director of the Office of Management and Budget, Stanley Early, and his entire team for continuing to lead us through this process. You may not know, but we began working on the budget very soon after the last budget passed. So it's almost a year-round activity. Again, my name is Tara Jackson, and I am the Acting County Executive for Prince George's. By way of background, I am a lawyer who started my career off in government as a prosecutor. I moved up to the principal deputy state's attorney, and for the past 5 years, I've served as the chief administrative officer for Prince George's. As CAO, I was responsible for the administration and overall operations of the executive branch of the government. And now as acting county executive, from now until after our general election in June, I am focused on responding to issues that may arise, maintaining as much stability as possible for our residents and for this government, and for ensuring a smooth transition for your next elected county executive. And that includes sending council a responsible budget. Before we hear from all of you about your priorities for our county budget, I want to take a moment to level set with you. First, we are facing significant, unique challenges, and those challenges will impact our budget. Second, my transition administration and I are committed to communicating with you during these challenging times, good and bad. We will always strive to do what is fair and just for this community as a whole, and we will need your help and your patience. Now, I want to discuss our current budget situation more specifically. There are many factors, as you probably know, that impact our Prince George's County budget. The county budget does not depend on just one source of revenue. It depends on funding from you, funding from the state, and funding from the federal government. And this year, challenges with the state budget and the federal government are adding to the challenges that we already faced and are impacting the fiscal health of our local government. The state has a significant budget deficit, about $3 billion, and the governor has proposed a myriad of changes to address that deficit. And among his proposals are cost shifts to the county, cost shifts that the state would normally cover, not just to Prince George's, but to all counties around the state. While I understand the reason for his proposal and certainly support him in his work to balance the state budget, we want our residents to know that these cost shifts will negatively impact our budget. And then there's the federal government. Prince George's County is inextricably connected to the federal government through our residents and our budget. And because of this, we are deeply concerned by the policy shifts that we're seeing and the flurry of executive orders that we're seeing as well. To be clear, we don't yet understand the full extent of the changes. And like everyone in the country, we are absorbing the day-to-day news and working to figure out how we are all impacted, how you will be impacted, and how it will impact our county budget. Our county is home to vibrant, diverse communities, a robust network of community-based organizations that rely on government funding, including federal government funding, and thousands of federal workers who are the backbone of our workforce. We are still learning the scope of the impacts created by the litany of executive orders and new policies that each day brings. But as I sit here today, I am comfortable saying that there will be an impact on our budget. In addition to the state and federal changes that we are seeing, we also have increased spending related to education, fire and EMS services, and a decrease in monies that came to us related to the pandemic. All of this instability has created a concerning, fluid situation for our finances. But you do need to know that we are working to gain the necessary clarity and guidance on these budget implications and federal policy changes, executive orders, and the like, so that we can create an honest budget. Last year, we made budget cuts to overcome a $180 million shortfall. Our team went above and beyond to ensure that residents would not feel the impact of these budget cuts. And this year, we are facing additional cuts, and we will need to make difficult choices that may not be desirable or comfortable, but with the goal of protecting the long-term fiscal health of our county. Balancing a county budget is no different, really, from balancing your household budget. You have a certain amount of revenue or income that comes in, and you have a certain amount that goes out. And if you get a pay increase, you may be able to spend more. But if your income goes down, some expense has to be cut, even if it is something that you really like or that you really think that you need. And in addition, a good budget ensures that you have a healthy cushion in the event of unexpected expenses. And I'll just mention, for instance, we have had quite a bit of snow this season that we have not seen in recent years. And this year, we've already had to spend approximately $9 million on efforts related to snow removal. During this difficult budget cycle, we will prioritize programs that matter to resident safety and the overall well-being of residents. And we will work hard to continue to provide necessary services that our community depends on. Again, it bears repeating that this transition administration will make every effort to do what is good and fair for the residents of our county. And we will face the challenges that we are met with head on. Today, I again thank you for being here, and I look forward to hearing from you, our residents. Your voices are a critical part of this process. Your input helps us make progress on these issues, the issues that matter most to Prince Georgians. Once again, thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to my team to go over some logistics for you. And I look forward, myself and Stanley Early, look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam County Executive. My name is Sasha Deolo, and tonight I'll be serving as your moderator. We appreciate and thank everyone for their participation, and to those watching on live stream on YouTube. I will now cover a few housekeeping items to ensure a smooth session for tonight. Number one, please note that only those who have pre-registered by Wednesday, February 12 at 5 p.m. will be called to speak. If you have registered to speak, please make sure your Zoom name reflects the name you used to register for the budget listening session. This will help us find your name and unmute you to begin your remarks. As you're called to speak, you will be made a panelist by our team. This will trigger a pop-up window to appear on your screen. Please click Join as Panelist. Please allow your app to process this request. Once you're promoted, you will be allowed to activate your camera and microphone. You will be allocated 3 minutes to make your remarks this evening. Please conclude your remarks once you hear the tone. Okay. Now, closed captioning is also available for all residents who need the service on the Zoom platform. To activate this, please go to your toolbar at the bottom of your screen and click CC for closed captioning and select Show Subtitle. Spanish language translation services are also available this evening. If you need Spanish translation, please go to the toolbar at the bottom of your screen and click Interpretation button and choose Spanish Interpretation channel. Now, the issue is that you may have to click the three dot ellipsis button in order to see the interpretation option. Moving on. Finally, before we get to our speakers, we want to level set and remind everyone that the topic of discussion tonight is the county's FY 2026 budget and how you, the resident, wish to see that budget prioritized. Comments that are not on the topic of the budget priorities, comments that maybe discriminate against race, gender, religious belief, country of origin, or sexual orientation will be muted by our moderators. Likewise, comments on or from political campaigns will also be muted by our moderators. Again, this is not a platform for political campaigns. We ask that speakers maintain decorum and respect for the rules during the comments. Tonight, we have 29 speakers registered. I will call up to 3 names at a time in order in which they were registered. Again, I will call 3 names. Speakers by those names will be promoted and allowed to activate their cameras and microphones. Speakers will present in the order their names were called. And please remember to limit your remarks to 3 minutes and conclude your remarks once you hear the tone. And with that, our first of several speakers will be Amy Pergrosky, Katrin Conroy, James Lawson. Amy, if you're here, you're going to be first. Take your time. Folks are going to get you going.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me put my video on if it works. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. Hello, my
You're
name
good
is.
to go.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. My name is Amy Pergosky. I've been a homeowner in District 1 for over 24 years and have volunteered at the county shelter for over 19 years. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to convey our concerns as you face challenges for this 2026 budget. I just testified 2 weeks ago, but I wanted to reiterate what you heard the animal advocates state at that hearing. The shelter needs additional staffing. Yesterday, there were over 200 dogs, about 100 cats, and over 30 small mammals and reptiles in the shelter. On Sundays when I'm there, sometimes there are only 4 caretakers on duty assigned to the dogs. That's just inadequate. Kennel conditions are often poor, which just means more sickness and disease. The Maryland Department of Agriculture minimum standards of care for animal shelters state that all floors, walls, doors, and drains shall be immediately sanitized and fully cleaned after coming in contact with feces, urine, or vomit. With so few staff to care for so many dogs, that's not happening. Now, not all dogs even get outside daily for fresh air and to potty. The shelter needs another fenced play yard or 2 to allow these dogs to enjoy some off-leash activities. 1 outside of intake 1 and 1 outside of the placement room would be great. There's only 1 large play yard now, and that was donated by the PGSPCA over 10 years ago. The other fenced runs that we have are small and have rocks as flooring, and most dogs hate stepping on them, especially in the hot summer days that we have here. Since you are facing such a budget shortfall, please stop giving away shelter animals for free. The adoption fees are very modest and don't even cover all the money the shelter spends on the animals. The shelter director has stated that the free animals do have a higher return rate. Having additional staff will enable adopters to have all the info they need regarding behavior and medical before bringing a pet home so they never enter the shelter again. And my testimony on January 29th bears repeating. The county needs to ensure that all the dogs and cats that leave the facility are spayed and neutered to be compliant with the county code. So many animals are leaving unaltered. That puts an unnecessary burden on all of us. The animal shelter is the only part of county government where termination of life is allowed to deal with a serious problem, and that is emotionally draining. The county owes the rescue partners and volunteers a debt of gratitude for working tirelessly behind the scenes to save as many dogs as possible from euthanasia each week. But rescue resources are stretched very thin, and many are on an intake hold, especially when they spend thousands of dollars to care for the dogs who leave your shelter because they're so sick. The rescues and volunteers are at their emotional and financial breaking point. We need the county to adequately fund the shelter so animals stay healthy and more animals can leave alive. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thanks, Amy. Katrin.
Hey, good evening. I'm Katrin Conroy, District 8 resident and director of the Prince George's County Pet Unity Project. I also testified last hearing about the misuse of taxpayer funds to support an unethical, proven ineffective, community-harming breed-specific legislation. This board kindly noted that the concerns were heard, but that you have no say in legislation, which is something that we understand. However, the county executive does have the power to encourage changes for a safer, more humane, and less wasteful animal code revision, where behavior is more important than looks. People are held responsible for the behavior of their animals, and animal control is given power to enforce laws and Animal Control Commission findings. I would also ask that as this board uses their expertise to work with council members in creating the new budget, you would advocate for us taxpayers an appropriate use of our tax dollars. It's millions of dollars we spend on this law while in a massive deficit, millions of dollars to pay to house, pay to feed, pay to shelter staff to care for, then pay to kill, then pay to cremate, then pay to throw away perfectly healthy house pets for absolutely no reason. No part of our breed ban is supported by science or data. No part of the law makes us safer. No part of the law saves us money. There's not a single reputable animal or human health organization that allows any room for belief that they might agree with the law. Dozens of organizations have taken firm stances against it. The American Veterinary Medical Association, the Humane Society, the ASPCA, National Animal Care and Control Association, the CDC, United Kennel Club, and the Obama White House are just a few that we can name. This law wastes our money, reduces our services and resources, and makes us a national embarrassment. It drives citizens away. I myself had a hard time moving here in 2020, prevents new businesses from opening, and actively deters many of our neighbors and local counties and cities from doing business in our county. These laws are the opposite of beneficial. They harm us, they hold us back, they prevent actual changes to safety and services that we want and need, and you see the budget, they waste our money. Please help us take this money out of column useless and move it to an area where it actually improves our quality of life. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Katrin. Dr. Lattimore is also unavailable. All right, next three names: Belinda Queen, Tawanda Williams, Phyllis Wright.
Phyllis Wright is here.
I see you, Phyllis, but I also see Ms. Queen and I see Ms. Williams.
Bible from behind me.
Okay, Belinda, you are on the screen and your microphone works. Go for it.
Okay, let me start. Thank you guys for the meeting. Greetings, Acton County Executive and Department Directors. I am Belinda Queen from Capitol Heights, speaking on behalf of the Central Coalition, Division 3 and 8 Police Coffee Circle, and our local nonprofit, Queens Care Holler, in helping others live life adequately. This is what I've asked of our leaders, that we across the board help others live life adequately as we represent Prince George's County. We need our county to put more money, as I stated a couple of weeks ago, into fixing these raggedy, bumpy sidewalks and these roads on Walker Mill Road, Addison Road, Ritchie Road, to create more jobs for our roadways and clean up a greens area better when we use Prince George's County residents. We need grant money and jobs that are being invested and given to with Prince George's County residents having the first priorities, to put more money toward our cops officers to be able to do more community policing, have more officers friendlies in the communities and environments, to put more money into our school systems, which I know we put enough, so I'm going to head on to the school system for this one. Holler by investing in the upkeep of our older communities that have paved the way through growth by fixing the sidewalks. I know you guys want to be a walkable community, but our sidewalks are horrible and our seniors are worried about them cracking the bones. Can we also look and thinking outside the box and use the services that we already have? Like we have the recreation mobile, the library mobile, park and rec mobile, the job centers. Let's take them into communities that don't have recreation center. As I close, I hear last week so many talk about protection of animals. I got my dog right here with me. I get it, how important their family. But let's think about humans. There's so many homeless and less fortunate with no insurance, no food, people struggling with these high electricity bills, seniors trying to keep food in their house. These programs are so important. So we need to make sure that we not only keep them in the budget, but we add more to them. Thank you.
Ms. Tawana Williams. Not present. Moving to Phyllis Wright.
Good evening. Thank you again for having me and allowing me to speak. I want to speak on school safety for our children here in Prince George's County Public Schools. As you guys know, that we had a child that bring a weapon to school, a knife to school, and so on and so on. We have security officers there, but we also have the technology where we can use our camera system in the schools to protect our children, staff, and children a lot better than what we're doing. I'm going to piggyback off of Ms. Queen when she said homelessness. I see so many people out in our communities that's laying on the ground, laying on the sideways, people walking up and down. We have so many homeless families and citizens out here in Prince George's County. We need to do better for them. I want to go back again to our school safety for our children. We must do better. We must use the security system that we have in our school systems. We have cameras in there. We must utilize those cameras that's in there. If we can get someone there to monitor those boards on those cameras in our school system, that would be a lot safer. We have so many doors that's unmanned, that's unsafe, that any and everything are coming in our school system. We don't have enough security officers, so why not should we use the security system that we have to monitor the progressive, to monitor what's going on in our school system. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. And as always, I will always speak up for our children here in Prince George's County for safety, education, and quality. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Phyllis. I will now call the next three names. And we have Melissa Schweiguth, Lois Staves, Irbin Ahmed, Melissa, I see you, and I see your camera is on and your microphone is on. If you're ready to go, go for it.
Yes, thank you very much. So good evening, and thank you acting county executive and everyone who is listening. My name is Melissa Schweiguth. I live in District 2. I'm a homeowner and I volunteer at the animal shelter and also have fostered 105 cats so far, maybe 106, losing count. And I also bike and walk preferentially. And so tonight I just want to ask for more and sufficient funding for safety projects that allow us to support Vision Zero and attain our Vision Zero goals, and increase funding for the county shelter. So Vision Zero, as you may know, our county has the highest road fatalities and injury crashes in the state. We are heading away from our Vision Zero goals. I did want to ask to make sure, please ensure that we have sufficient funding in the operating budget for staff that can work on design and grant seeking and project management to implement several safe road projects that the county has committed to. And then in the capital budget, please ensure there is sufficient funding for complete and green streets projects in the FY25 SIP. Some projects were pushed back to FY28. We really need to have those projects happening. The Walkable Urban Streets Act, passed in 2023, specifies that the county should be improving 5% of the roads in transit-oriented districts to make sure that they align with the updated urban design standards. And then Safe Streets for All grant-funded projects. Did a great job getting a grant, but we do need to provide those matching funds. And then the bike and ped network. So animal services, I 100% agree with all the comments about breed-specific legislation. We're talking about we need to cut funds from the budget. We need to save funds. That is a perfect way to save funds. And then we can put those funds toward training staff, toward retaining staff, making sure that we have appropriate staff that know how to deal with diseases. Sometimes whole rooms of cats are killed in the past few months. 30 to 40% of cats have been killed. That's really sad for me as a cat volunteer. And it's because there's not a proper understanding or not proper space to be able to quarantine animals and to be able to handle some of those communicable diseases. There are some really great staff that we continue to lose because they get paid better elsewhere, because they are not burnt out from constantly having to kill dogs. So really making sure that we have sufficient funding to retain staff, to train staff, and also for trap, vaccinate, neuter, return to humanely reduce the wild cat population and the stray cat population. We want to stop those animals from coming in the shelter in the first place. Low-cost spay programs can go a very long way. Trap, neuter, volunteer, return. So please do think of the shelter. And continue also in the SIP to provide funds for expanding the shelter for a North County shelter. That will make it a lot easier for folks to volunteer, for folks to adopt, for folks to foster. But that's, these are two issues I really do hope we find this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Melissa. Louis, you're up next.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We cannot see you, Louis. Do you have a camera?
It's unable. I tapped it and it's not working. I'm a blind lady, so would you allow me to proceed?
Yes, ma'am. Go for it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having this forum. I'm representing the low vision and blind persons of PG County. We're a marginalized group of persons, a viable citizens in this county. We're taxpayers, we're homeowners, we're mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, we're college students. We don't have a place for us to have viable training. We need training in place. We need mobility skills, we need independent living skills, and most important, we need the technology skills. As of now, we travel to Baltimore, we travel to D.C. We need a place in our county. You say that each person is a viable citizen, but we want to be represented. We want to have the funding. That's what I'm requesting this evening, that we have funding allotted to the blind and low vision persons. We need a facility as well as the funds implemented into programs. We go to different agencies. They tell us that PG has put nothing in the budget for us. We need our training. It's important for us to remain independent. It's important for us to remain viable citizens in our county. So I appreciate the consideration of having funding for us. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Should I begin or are you waiting to call the last
We see
person?
you. I hear you. You're ready to go.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Imani, and I'm a new resident in District 2. Thank you for the chance to speak to you all today as well. Like many residents in this area, I take the bus around the city to shop for groceries, go to the gym, or get to the office, which is an hour away 5 days a week. Aside from the buses arriving late or cars not stopping at crosswalks, I would like to raise another issue. I'd like the council to consider adding to the budget options a way to improve bus stop safety for residents without cars. There are several routes, such as the R1, R2, F4, F6, and C4, which are directly across from the proposed McDonald's on Ager Road that are of concern. In this area, bus routes lack a combination of 4 things: adequate lighting at the bus stops when it's dark outside, proper bus shelter to shield from the weather elements such as rain or hot days, a bench for anyone that needs to sit due to an injury, disability, or exhaustion waiting for late buses due to the Purple Line construction, and safe placement off the road, such as not being in a ditch or having your back to a ditch like this. For example, the bus routes that pass on East-West Highway and Riggs Road from Tacoma Metro, starting at New Hampshire Road to PG Mall, have no bus shelters. They are sitting or are in overgrown weeds or in ditches. I have photos of some of these, and I have submitted it to the county to take an assessment to review options. I was told that this would not be addressed until 2026, which is why I'm here today. And additionally, this is a huge intersection at East-West Highway and Riggs Road. And so it's very difficult based on the bus route to get across the street in a timely manner at night or during the day. And then I would just like to add in an option to consider as a member of Delta Sigma Theta. I think it would be a great option for the county council to consider partnering with local fraternities or sororities, local schools, adding service, student service learning projects for students to obtain what they need to graduate, but also help the residents in this area. Since there's a return to office mandate, it would be very critical to consider this, especially in this area because it is not safe at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't see Samaya on, and I don't see James John. And so we will move on to the next three names.
I'm
Oh, was that James? Okay, I see you. All right.
yes.
Go ahead, James.
All right. Good evening. My name is James John. I am a resident of Prince George's County for 40 plus years. I currently work for the Prince George's County Fire Department, and I've been involved in the fire department for over 30 years. I'm here to speak on the need of funding for hiring firefighters and EMTs for the county. So a lot of people know, I'm sure y'all have heard it, that we are severely understaffed at this point. We have lots of firefighters that get mandatory, get told that they can't go home, get told that they have to come back on one of their regular scheduled days off. And just recently, we've basically been told that it's going to continue to happen because we don't have the staffing that we need. We don't have the people hired that we need to do this, and that we need to plan accordingly, plan to be held once we get off. So we have to stay, can't go home to our families, have to change our plans. Kind of like I'm right now trying to be at my son's games, hockey games. I've had to miss games because of being mandatory to work on a day off that I was already scheduled to be off. In doing that, it increases safety for the citizens and visitors of the county. The call volume now we run about 600 calls a day for service. We have less transport units than we had 15, 20 years ago, and we're running twice as many calls. So therefore, when people call 911, they don't have anyone always available for them. Sometimes they have to wait for an ambulance to come from an extended distance to get there. So yeah, I would just like to urge the council to increase the funding for hiring for the fire department. I know they're trying to do things to hire the police department. And that's all I've got for right now, just because of the noise.
Okay, I will call the next three names. Leah Scholler, Sherry James, and Lena. Again, if you joined late, you will be made into a panelist. Click yes, follow the prompts, and take your time. Leah, if you're ready, turn on your camera, turn on your microphone.
Hello.
I see you. Ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready. Hello, my name is Leah Schuler. I'm a District 4 homeowner, a volunteer at Prince George's County Animal Shelter, and a co-founder of Love Paws Rescue, a rescue and community outreach partner with the shelter. I want to bring to your attention to a pressing issue regarding our county's animal shelter. As you have already heard, the shelter faces numerous challenges in providing adequate medical care and staffing for the animals under their responsibility. Additional funding is required to address these concerns effectively. Firstly, the current budget allocated for animal medical care appears insufficient to cover the growing needs of our shelter's population. Many animals require urgent veterinary attention due to various health issues such as injuries, illness, and parasites. However, the limited resources hinder their timely treatment, which can potentially lead to complications or even death in some cases. Secondly, increasing caretaking staff and extending staff hours at the animal shelter would significantly improve the quality of life for our shelter's inhabitants. Currently, dogs are left alone from 6:30 p.m. until 8 a.m. each day. This period is crucial as it transitions from night to morning activities and can cause stress and anxiety in these animals. By extending staff hours, we can ensure that the dogs receive additional care during this time, alleviating their distress and promoting a cleaner, healthier environment for shelter residents. In conclusion, I urge you to consider increasing funding for animal medical care at our county's animal shelter, increase staffing, and extending staff working hours. This investment will not only improve the well-being of our shelter animals, but also contribute positively to our community by demonstrating compassion and responsibility towards these vulnerable creatures. Thank you for your attention to this matter, and I look forward to discussing it further with you if you have any questions. And thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Leah. Gary, if you are available, I see you. You can turn on your camera and your microphone.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Go for it.
I'm going to probably be a little bit different from most others who have spoken today. I really don't want you to spend not one more dime. I don't want you to find any more pennies. What I want the county to do is do what I have taught my kids in reference to how I operate my home. And that is, you can't spend what you don't have. The county right now has such a deficit that is mind-blowing. And I cannot consciously ask anyone to spend some more money. And when you spend some more money, you got to find it from somewhere. My pocketbook is empty. I don't have any more money to give for whatever the project may be. And they may be wonderful projects. I'm not even concerned or putting anything down in reference to that. I'm just talking about fiscal responsibility. I want the county, I want Maryland to find out how well they have done with the taxpayers' monies that I've already given and others also. I want you to go find where the pennies are, where the quarters in the corner are. I want you to find all that money that potentially could support some of these wonderful ideas that have been expressed today. I always teach my kids that you are going to end up getting in trouble if you try to spend what you don't have. You run your household in the essence that you spend and then you back off because you know what you have and you know what you don't have. One of the other things I want to talk to everyone about is these utility bills. All these utility bills, and even the tax bill. I am really sick and tired of all these fees that they're putting on these bills. For instance, my water bill, a house that I own, does not have the water on. And guess what? I got a $73 bill for 0 services. 0. I mean, that's just crazy. I've never had a situation whereby I'm giving somebody some money and I'm not getting anything back. My $73 for water, 40 something dollars for gas, and about 40 something dollars for electricity. And then the tax bill, hasn't been ignored either. All the add-ons to the tax bill. Where is all of this money going? Has anyone decided to take a look and see whatever that pet project was about cleaning the Chesapeake Bay? Is the Chesapeake Bay clean yet? I hope so. I appreciate your time and the opportunity to speak. And hopefully you heard me.
Thank you, Chair. I will now call the next three names: Stefan Leggin, Sherry Coles, Kashina Cross. Again, follow the prompts. You will be made a panelist. And Stefan, when you're ready, turn on your camera, turn on your microphone.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jackson, for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Stefan Leggin. I live in the town of Brentwood, and I'm a part of the coalition to support Prince George's County Fire and EMS. The coalition represents over 100,000 residents of Prince George's County, 8 municipalities, and the Prince George's County Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association. I'm actually going to be echoing some of what James Johns had to say about staffing resources for our fire and EMS department. But first off, I want to say thank you to the council for supporting fire and EMS by funding them during the last budget discussion. So basically, I'm here to say keep it up. The coalition has released a 6-point plan that serves as a foundation for restaffing the department, volunteer and career, so that we may avoid the staffing shortage we experienced last summer when career staff were pulled from the communities they served, leaving some firehouses empty or severely understaffed. This 6-point plan does serve as a foundation for rebuilding the departments from within. And what's most apropos to today's discussion is the point that says we need a commitment to funding 150 new hires in the next fiscal year. We all know that the sad truth is that Prince George's County Fire and EMS services are 25 people short at the beginning of every shift, every day. And at the current rate of firefighters who are graduating versus firefighters who are resigning or retiring, it will be over 5 years before the department is fully staffed. That is too long. And this is not a time to withhold funding. We certainly cannot afford to hire any less firefighters. And we need to recognize that now is the time to reinvest in our volunteers, leverage their skills and their availability to support the department, career firefighters included. So in closing, I'm here to urge you to continue committing to funding new hires and reinvesting in the men and women who give this county their biggest bang for their buck, and that is the volunteer, firefighters, and EMS staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Appreciate that. Ms. Sherry Cole. Sherry, you have been promoted. Turn on your camera, turn on your microphone. I can see you.
Okay. Hello, Acting County Executive Jackson. My name is Sherry Coles, a 30-plus year resident in District 7. I am here requesting increased funding for the PG County Animal Shelter in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. As a foster volunteer since 2018, I am advocating and hoping for additional funding so that emergency care can be given to all animals in the shelter's foster homes should the need arise. Funding is also necessary for a real emergency line with a person that can actually assist and help and/or find solutions. As I saw the January 29th testimony of Miss Leah Schuler with Love Pause on the botched surgery and unnecessary death of Galena, I also wanted to explain that horrible experience. I was Galena's foster mom. I picked her up Saturday around 3 p.m. and we were at the vet the very next night. After a bowel movement, Galena's stomach was actually hanging out and her bleeding was ongoing. It was a gut-wrenching, unnecessary experience seeing her go through so much discomfort. No caregiver should have to experience this. Through no fault of their own, the emergency line at the shelter was of absolutely no help after 4 to 5 pleading calls. Fortunately, I had volunteered with Law Pause organization who was able to help with the solution, actually getting Galena to a vet. Sonia at Law Pause was also instrumental in getting in touch with the director, David Fisher. Mr. Fisher was very helpful as we were actually on the phone at 1 o'clock in the morning. Sadly, Galena passed away approximately 5 hours after I picked her back up on that following Saturday. I was Galena's foster mom for a total of 2.5 days. I have also experienced unnecessary care being withheld for another foster, Ace. He was a great dog with heartworms that actually had an adopter who was unable to pay for the $3,000 treatment. Not a small feat for a PG resident, but funds made available would undoubtedly save and enhance the lives of the animals saved. Unfortunately, Ace too had to be euthanized when he still could have been alive and in his forever home. The staff didn't even contact rescue groups to see if anyone could assist in fundraising efforts to save his life. I think all volunteers and shelter workers would agree that the animals make life just a little more doable and better for us all. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Moving to Kashina Cross, Mayor Cross. Perhaps they drop, and remember, if you showed up or your name wasn't called because you showed up late or you dropped, try to join again. I will try to get back to those who were not there, like Mr. Lawson. Okay, so moving on to the next 3 names. We're gonna have Julie Marks, Tina Green, Esther Malia Milstead.
Hello, Kashina Cross is on now.
Oh, wow. Okay, you're back.
Thank you so much. To Madam Acting Executive Jackson, thank you again to all of those that have served as panelists and all those that are assembled in the County Council as well. I am Mayor Kashina A. Cross of the City of Glenarden, but I am also the chairman for the Young Adults, Youth Works, and College Programs for the NAACP Prince George's County number 7023 Bravo. I bring to you 4 proposals and a call to action. Number 1, cybersecurity is a high and increasing challenge in our nation as well as county. This is something that we can, with a heightened curriculum at the high school and middle level, provide certifications which drives in the development of youth in tech-worthy opportunities that not only will pay them an equity, but will also help Maryland sustain itself as a staple when it comes down to cybersecurity. Studies like the University of Maryland has put forth and training that is often offered through Legit is one of the opportunities that this county can capitalize that already exists. We need to introduce our young folks and help build the next generation of cyber warriors that will protect not only this county, but this nation. This is an ever support and a future expectation that would relatively cost the county limited amount of money. I ask that you will strengthen the public-private partnerships as my number 2, a pathway to home ownership. With many challenges afoot with the housing and urban development and many people living in housing and urban development establishments, maybe there will be residents who will be encumbered by their present living circumstances. Accommodations must be made. This is a critical issue in Prince George's County, and if we do not address over 30% of their income already being spent in rent or high mortgage costs, this will become a catastrophe. I ask that you offer cost-effective housing and also utilize these private-public partnerships for the purposes of establishing new home ownership on county land at a reduced tax purchase. This allows us to reasonably build home ownership, which will increase your tax income for this county. Number 3 is the small businesses. They are the backbone of local economy, but many of them, accordingly to COVID-19 statistics, unfortunately lost their way. We are asking for a redirect when it comes down to the load sharing as well, and struggling affordable financing opportunities that we would be able to partner with our local banks and our local unions like PNC Bank and Navy Federal Credit Union, for example, in this county. We are looking at thanking you so much for that as you consider the budget forward. These are opportunities not only to make money, but also save additional costs when it comes down to our future.
Thank you, and your microphone is ready to go. Go for it.
Great, thank you. Good evening, County Executive Jackson and Director Early. My name is Julie Marks, and I live in District 4. I'm here about the needs of the animal shelter to plead for help for our county's homeless animals. This past week, we had an urgent list of 35 dogs at the shelter. 2 weeks ago, when I spoke at the previous budget session, there were 25 dogs on the urgent list. In total so far, there have been 110 dogs on the urgent list this year, and it's only the second week of February. Being on an urgent list means the animal has a 1-week deadline to get adopted, saved by a rescue partner, or they will be euthanized. One would think that these large urgent lists, that there would be more room at the shelter now, but that would be wrong. Today, there are 204 dogs at the shelter. Just this past weekend, 29 dogs came in as strays. Sadly, this is not unusual. It is a reoccurring theme. No matter how hard we try, we cannot stem the flow of homeless animals that enter our county shelter. Keep in mind, this is just a number of dogs at the facility. There are also cats, rabbits, guinea pigs, and turtles. The shelter also takes in reptiles, birds, and farm animals. Volunteers testify over and over again about shelter conditions, begging for help. And it always seems to fall on deaf ears. It is heartbreaking and discouraging. There needs to be more funding for care of the sick and injured and funds for the daily care of the 200+ homeless animals in our county shelter. This includes food, medication, cleaning supplies, bedding, quality veterinary care, and responsible caring kennel staff. There needs to be more funding for community outreach and low-cost options for vaccines and spay-neuter so that our citizens can do right by their beloved pets. We need to curb backyard breeding by regulating it, and we need to ensure that the shelter adopts out only animals who have been spayed or neutered. Simply put, we need to do better, Prince George's County. These animals are at our mercy. Please help. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
First, Jamie Tolson, Abby Collins, Vanessa Johnson. You will be transferred into the moderator room. Follow the prompts and get ready. Mr. Tolson, I see you.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Good to go.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jamie Tolson. I'm a resident of Laurel and a firefighter here in Prince George's County. I'm going into my 10th year with the fire department. I would like to take this time to speak on a few things affecting my coworkers in the fire and EMS department in general. Over the last few years, Prince George's County has grown significantly, and the fire department has failed to keep up with the growth in Prince George's County. Over the last few years, the fire and EMS department has been dealing with an increased daily call volume, reaching a daily average of over 500 calls and sometimes over 600 calls for service. Lack of adequate hiring is causing a rapidly increasing problem with mandatory overtime where we are forced to work and we can't go home to our families. Special events at Northwest Field like concerts and the Washington Commanders football games require the fire and EMS department to provide service are causing burnout, fatigue throughout the entire department. Also, the starting pay is not accounted for the rising cost of living, and our pay structure is currently the lowest in the DMV area, and we are the last option for someone looking to start a career in the fire service. During my time with the Prince George's County Fire Department, multiple stations have increased their staffing without hiring an account for new positions. Station 810 in Laurel, Station 818 in Glendale, Station 848 in West Lanham Hills have moved from a day work 7 to 3 p.m. staffing model to a shift work 24 hours around the clock, requiring more personnel for those positions. The department also finished construction of our training facility and Fire Station 802, both located in Shady Glen. This summer, 4 fire and EMS stations had their career staff removed and moved to different stations throughout the county, and that decision left those stations to depend only on volunteers to provide service, which is not promised. Station 814 in Berwyn Heights, Station 835 in Greenbelt, Station 839 in Bowie, and Station 855 in Brentwood were the affected stations and areas. Since then, only Station 855 in Brentwood has had their career staff return to them. We are also facing an apparatus shortage, and sometimes we run unsafe fire apparatus and engines because we have very few in our reserve fleet. Another challenge the department is facing is hiring and staffing. As mentioned by our fire chief at our prior county council meeting, we are currently the lowest paying jurisdiction in the DMV area, even after increasing our starting pay from $48,000 to $54,000. And out of the 150 positions allocated for fiscal year 2025, we've only hired 40 out of the 150 positions, 23 in October and 17 in December. That leaves us needing to hire 110 people before June 30th, 2025. I believe this is due to low pay, adequate hiring, and a lack of urgency in hiring. With this starting pay increase, only the newer members of the fire department received a raise from the increased starting pay, and the senior members of the department did not receive a raise associated with the increase in pay, and our pay is not keeping up with the constant rising costs of living and tax increases in Prince George's County. Finally, I would like to speak on our facility needs for the fire department. Multiple fire stations have problems like mold, poor air circulation, not having heat in the winter, and no air conditioning in the summer. I would also like to mention the aging firehouses and lack of space and size in our training academy. Most of the fire stations here in Prince George's County have exceeded their life expectancy. Our training academy barely holds 50 recruits at a time, and we need to improve infrastructure so we can dig ourselves out of this critical staffing shortage and have larger recruit classes. The department has recruit schools 29 through 34 elderly retire, which is well over 150 positions that would need to be required to be filled, causing even more of a critical shortage. Finally, the overtime budget mentality is just wrong, in my opinion. Paying overtime instead of hiring is just throwing away money year after year with no return on investment and spending tens of millions of dollars per year towards overtime in place of hiring is wasteful, and that money can go towards investing in our hiring, facilities, and apparatus replacement. The best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is now. This is not a one-year only item. This is a multiple-year problem. Please help us keep Prince George's County safe, and please help the public safety get the help we are requesting. And again, thank you for the chance to speak tonight.
The run for everyone, as Karan just stated, while you only have 3 minutes, we just want to make sure that you are clear and that you do not speak too quickly because people have to use their hands. We have to gesture. And so next we have Abby Collins.
Hi, good evening. My name is Abby Collins. I recently began volunteering at the Prince George County Animal Shelter. I'm here tonight to share my deep concerns about the shelter's dire conditions and urgent increase in funding to address them. On just my second volunteer shift, Sunday, November 17th, I witnessed a heartbreaking and preventable tragedy. A dog named Chase suddenly began bleeding from his mouth and refused to move. I immediately radioed for a vet tech, only to be told they were out on lunch. Eventually, a fellow volunteer managed to get Chase inside, where he laid motionless in the hallway, bleeding out as his lungs filled with blood. He was later moved to an isolation room where he died alone. He had an adoption application pending. His cause of death was strep zoo, a highly contagious bacterial infection that has already caused multiple shutdowns at the shelter in the past year alone. Inadequate staffing levels are creating unsanitary conditions, therefore it is no surprise that deadly viruses are frequently spreading. Dogs are not having their basic needs met. Many are forced to live in their own waste because they are not walked daily, nor are their kennels cleaned often enough. The conditions inside are unhygienic and inhumane. It is not uncommon to see dogs caked in their own feces and urine. After spending time with just one dog, you will need to wash your clothes and take a shower. Now imagine how that looks to the public, potential adopters who are coming in hoping to find a new pet. Proper staffing for daily walks is essential to the health, well-being, and adoptability of these animals. Increasing kennel staff to walk dogs daily would not only reduce disease outbreaks, but also significantly improve the shelter's public image and adoption rates. Additionally, I am baffled that the shelter is closed to the public on Sundays and that anyone wanting to meet a dog on a weekday must arrive by 5 p.m., despite the shelter remaining open until 6. These policies create completely unnecessary barriers to adoption, making it nearly impossible for anyone working a standard 9-to-5 job to adopt a pet. If the shelter's primary goal is to get animals adopted, it is failing. Simply shifting the hours to stay open later on weekdays and replacing a weekday with Sunday would be a low-cost, common-sense change that could significantly increase adoptions and reduce shelter overcrowding. In closing, I encourage you to please investigate these issues and allocate funding to improve them. Right now, the Prince George County Animal Shelter is failing both its animals and its community. You have the power to change that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Abby. We have a Vanessa Johnson. Vanessa Johnson, if you are available, you would be in the panelist room right now, but you're not. So we're going to move on to the next three names. First, Jenna Parker. Second, Carolyn Scales. Third, Callie Crumpos. And I believe Ms. Parker may be gone. I saw that in the chat earlier. So maybe Carolyn. No. Callie. See you in the panel.
Oh,
Ready to go.
all right. Good evening. My name is Callie Crumpos, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Washington Area Bicyclist Association, or WABA. We envision a just and sustainable transportation system where walking, biking, and transit are the best ways to get around. We appreciate and thank the county for the attention and resources dedicated to road safety and bicycling projects and initiatives, and we know that these are challenging times. The state's transportation funding picture is very difficult, and state and local governments face the threat of drastic reductions in federal funding. But as we've already heard this evening, Prince George's County experienced 93 road deaths last year, including 29 pedestrians and 1 bicyclist, the highest county figure in Maryland. Prince George's County must allocate sufficient funding to change these heart-wrenching outcomes. Funding for safer intersections, sidewalks, bikeways, bicycle programs, and transit will save lives and provide affordable, convenient, and green transportation and recreation options for county residents. We ask you to ensure the operating budget has sufficient funds for staff to work on the increased design, project management, and grant-seeking needs for the county's Safe Streets commitments. We need the county to focus on all elements of the Safe Citizens approach, especially engineering. In the FY2026 capital budget and CIP, we request the following priorities. Please ensure the CIP includes funds to make safety improvements to county roads in transit-oriented areas to meet the 2023 Urban Street Design Standards in accordance with the Walkable Urban Streets Act. We ask that you ensure sufficient capital funds to complete Safe Streets for All projects, which target the deadliest county-owned roads. The county must meet these matching requirements to utilize the grant, in addition to meeting the timeline to utilize these funds. And we ask that the county funds the bike and pedestrian network. Last year, DPWT announced a set of prioritized 15 segments of a planned bike ped network with a focus on equity and connectivity. Please prioritize capital funding to advance those projects. We also encourage the county to support access to affordable biking, such as through bike share expansion to central and southern areas of the county, as well as to consider an e-bike rebate program. In closing, the administration can set a course for future years by directing DPW&T and other county agencies to assist Prince George's planning in creating a Prince George's County Bicycle Master Plan. This plan would build on the existing plans like the Bike and Pedestrian Network Plan and the future Go Prince George's Plan to map out a complete connected network that supports safe, convenient, and low-stress transportation and recreation across the county. We ask that you make these sensible, realistic, and much-needed FY2026 capital and operating investments that we've outlined to promote safe, equitable, and affordable transportation and recreation options for all residents. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening.
Thank you, Callie. We're going to go backwards on the list. I see Carolyn Scales to be promoted. Carolyn, turn on your camera. I see your microphone is on. Carolyn Scale, you're up. See your face. Cannot hear you yet. Hold on. Let's see if we can get you going.
Can you try saying something? I see your microphone and is on, so we should be able to hear you.
We're not hearing you.
Okay. Are you using your phone? Is that what's going on? Okay. Well, let's see. This might be a tech issue on your end, Carolyn. So let's work on that, and then we'll move on to the next if we have another person on. Hey, Carolyn, I think you're the last one who's here who has signed up. If you are unable to speak tonight, Carolyn, there is still the opportunity to submit a written comment. And unfortunately, if we can't get your technical difficulty fixed, we're gonna have to move on. Okay.
Let me just say this, Ms. Scales, if you're able to use the chat, we can see the chat message as well. So I know that may be a little difficult or cumbersome to do that, but if you're able, if you know how to use the chat, we may be able to see your message. We will be able to see your message. Can you hear us? You can hear us.
She can hear us. She just it's a technical difficulty on the part of the device. So unfortunately, Ms. Scales, we can reach out and make sure that you can submit a written comment.
Yeah, why don't we reach out?
And then we will have to, in the meantime, close out. And with that, thank you everyone for participating. That was the last speaker, and the last speaker is concluded. And this ends the FY 2026 proposed budget listening session. We thank everyone who was up. Ms. Carolyn, is that you? No. Okay. We thank everyone who was able to join us and participate this evening, and everyone who is watching the live stream. And again, finally, as a reminder, written comments will continue to be accepted until Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 at 5 p.m. Again, that's Tuesday, February 18th at 5 o'clock. So you have about, you have a good week almost to get your written comments in. Ms. Gale, if you mind just writing that out, we'll reach out to you via email. We can work with you to get you submitted. And with that, Madam Acting County Executive Jackson, do you have any final closing remarks?
Well, thank you, Sasha, for facilitating. And I do hope, Ms. Scales, that you reach out to us in writing so that we can hear from you. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has taken time this evening to join us and to share their comments. As I said before, budgets are difficult to create. And this year is challenging. There's no two ways about it. This year is challenging. We have many mandatory expenses that we're required to fund. Good expenses, for instance, education. We will have to fund education at least at $60 million more this year, so that again, we're funding the Blueprint state plan to support our children. There are all sorts of mandatory expenses as it relates to stormwater and other climate-related issues. And I'm really proud. I said this the last time that we were together in person, the last time that we had a listening session. I know that we've got a ways to go as it relates to our fire EMS service, but in this past year, it's already been said, but I'm going to say it again. We were able to fund 150 positions. I think you can look forward to definitely an increased complement in the fire department, not only in FY25, but in FY26, as well as increased entry level salaries. We expect that they will be there as well, so that we can do a better job at recruiting our firefighters. You know, there are so many tidbits that I've written down during this session, some just operational feedback that you have given us. And I do plan to go back to the agencies and talk with our agencies about some inexpensive tweaks that we might be able to make our operations more efficient. With that being said, I think someone earlier said it, and that is you can't spend what you don't have. And so we are here tonight because we know that there is a limited amount of spending that we can do, and we know that we have to cut. So it's important for us to hear from you so that we can make good use of every dollar and find pennies everywhere that we can. Again, I thank you so much for participating in your government, and we're going to do our very best to submit the most responsible budget that we can submit. Thank you, and have a great night.
Thank you, and that concludes the
Let me
hearing.
say, I should have said thank you to our interpreters. I know it wasn't an easy job, so thank you.